June is finally here and we are kicking off Sad Gay Summer reading as well as Trojan history research, Bronze Age research months. Yeah, let's call it that. My Bronze Age research should have gone May, June, July, but because life kind of went sideways with the move across the country, we are now starting in June, going into July, and we're just cutting it off at 2 months this year. I'm Quinn Moone, I write queer fairy tales, and this is what I'm reading for the month of June. We're starting off with the history books. Thankfully, my kind of annual planning didn't go so sideways that I don't think I can't salvage June onwards. Not that there was a whole lot planned for like Q4, but that's a whole other thing. But for June, I think I can still maintain my goal to read about the Bronze Age. So this is going to be like a big Eric H. Klein. He's a professor and I'm like the nerdiest person ever for being like, I get to read all the books that this professor wrote. Anyways, I will be reading 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed. Wait a minute. Aha! I will be reading 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed by Eric H. Klein, and I will read the sequel after 1177, The Survival of Civilizations, also by Eric H. Klein. These two books are, well, I think that they would both be about the same size if they were both in paperback, but like I bought this one in paperback and this one just recently came out, so I could only get it in hardcover. I don't know, I don't think I would have preferred them both in paperback, to be honest. Hardcover can get a little, I don't know, cumbersome for the amount that I'm going to use them. I just have one hardcover and one paperback, which is not ideal, but it is what it is at this point. The font in the paperback is obviously spaced smaller. I get more margin in the hardcover. Am I going to have to go get the hardcover? 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed? Crud. I might. Hold up. Darn it! Those margins are so not the same. Ugh, look at that. All right. Look at that margin size. And y'all know the amount of notes I'm gonna take, and this is gonna be like a point of reference. Ugh, crud. Okay, I'm gonna have to go get the hardcover. I'll put this in a little free library near a university or something. Bummer. Yeah, because these are the margins that I need. Ugh. Okay, that aside, I'm gonna be reading 1177 BC. Oh my God, I'm gonna be reading 1177 BC and after 1177 BC by Eric H. Klein. And I will also be reading like the large overarching book of the month, which was a gift from one of my closest friends because he is the bomb. He is just awesome. I love that he surprised me with this. It was just the best gift I could have received. I will be reading the Oxford Handbook of the Bronze Age Aegean, edited by Eric H. Klein. Like, this guy is just all over the Bronze Age. A legit encyclopedia, fantastic margins, maps, points of reference. I cannot wait. Ooh, I actually have to cover this up. This cover is not surviving, y'all. Oh no, and all of my stuff is in storage. I gotta make an emergency trip to Michael's. Darn. Okay, this cover is not gonna make it with the amount of abuse I'm gonna put to it. Oh no. Poor planning. If I wasn't so darn distracted, moving across the country, May went so sideways, I would have already reinforced this. I am so behind already, and the month hasn't even started. Okay, this is a weekend project. But I will be reading the Oxford Handbook of the Bronze Age Aegean. I am so excited. And I compare this with, I brought my history encyclopedia. I compare this to my history encyclopedia. I can get an understanding of the Bronze Age. Oh, this is gonna be a fantastic month. If I don't get through this, I'm gonna be very sad. So hopefully I get through this. And the two other books by Eric H. Klein. Next, we'll cover the fiction, just the general fiction that I will be reading this month. One of the books that I will be reading this month is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. I already have the audiobook checked out of my library and I'm waiting for the physical book to be available. And then I'm just gonna companion read that together. One of my friends has recommended that over and over and over again. And every time he sees my like monthly TBRs that I send them, he's like, I see that The Memory Police isn't on there. I'm like, I know, give me a second. It's scheduled for May. And then it didn't happen in May. It's now happening in June. And I try to have a healing fiction type of book every month. The last months didn't exactly go as planned, but this month I'm very excited to read The Housekeeper and the Professor, also by Yoko Ogawa. I have had this on my shelf for quite a few years and I just haven't gotten around to it. But when I saw that Yoko Ogawa also wrote The Memory Police, I'm like, this is the perfect month to just companion read these together because they're by the same author. I have been told that The Memory Police is much different from The Housekeeper and the Professor, so I'm really excited to be reading two books by this Very amazing author. I am currently in the middle of reading The Crane Husband. I have it on audiobook and it's extremely short and I've been listening to it. It's a lot creepier than I thought it would be. Like, it's not like Cassandra Call levels of creepy just yet, but it's unsettling, especially because of the aspect of magical realism where it's just mom brings home a crane husband and everybody's like, yeah, totally, the crane's now someone's dad. So it's a little unsettling, especially the elements of just, I don't know if it's an attempt to be human, but the humanization of a crane that is anatomically a crane is really unnerving, especially seeing it from the perspective of this young girl who we know is just, life's about to go terribly sideways. I will be reading The Crane Husband and I should be finishing it pretty soon. One of my book clubs, the one here in Austin, is actually reading She Who Became the Sun. This has been on my list for a good minute, so I'm really excited to tackle She Who Became the Sun for the month of June. I don't really know what to expect. I hear it's really amazing, and I've been also wanting to read the sequel. So depending on how I like She Who Became the Sun, which I expect to just love, I will also be reading He Who Drowned the Ocean, I think, the sequel. For the month of June, I'll be reading She Who Became the Sun. My Chicago book club is reading One Last Stop. I've seen this circulating, obviously, around the book community, and I never picked it up, if only because I have no good reason. I just never picked it up, but it's gonna be fun, very quick. I'm excited to finally check that box because it's been on my list. I just haven't read it. I'll be reading that for the month of June as well. And it seems very appropriate because it's Pride Month, so there's a bunch of queer books in the month of June. So I'm excited to read One Last Stop. I am a little disappointed, I guess, that I didn't finish Moone in the month of May, and I have a lot of feelings about this book. I have a vlog where I'm talking about it. I didn't finish it because the book is much more melancholic than I thought it would be. Yeah, it's about a lady that owns a magical pawn shop where you barter away your regrets. I expected there to be some sort of levity to offset the really contemplative, just a really profound reflection on time, memory, and free will versus predestination. It is a really heavy topic, and they address it very delicately and very beautifully, and it's magical and it's lovely. I needed a little more, I guess, whimsy. I don't even know if whimsy is the right word when tackling topics this heavy. I guess I expected a little more magic to offset the very deep topics that are tackled in this book. It's a slower read only because I am trying to understand what the author is saying about free will and predestination. I'm trying to understand what the characters are going through. I'm giving it a lot of thought, but because it is such a heavy topic, it's just taking me longer to just give it the attention it's due, give it the thought, the self-reflection, because this book is taking so much care to deliver the message it's trying to deliver. I want to give it the attention that it's due. It's just a little heavier than I had anticipated it to be. It's the only reason this is still in progress. I'm halfway through and I'm pretty sure I'll knock this out in a weekend. I just have to give myself time. The next book that is a carryover from May is Inanna. I am actually really enjoying this book. It's very fun, it's very interesting. It sets the expectation. It helps me get into the mindset of humanizing these characters from these legends and epics. And because ancient Mesopotamia is actually a very rare topic for people to just write fiction about, I really appreciate seeing Gilgamesh as a man, seeing Inanna as a little girl, and seeing all of these characters as human in this mythological kind of landscape. So this is really going to help me prepare for when I reread the Epic of Gilgamesh, and always remember that these are people, that once upon a time, this was a person of flesh and blood, and they mourned these losses. They mourned the loss of Enkidu. They were unhappy with themselves and their surroundings. And this book helps me get into that mindset to remember they were people first. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually gonna have to go back and start highlighting because there's a lot of nuggets of not only humanization of a deity and of this larger than life character of mythology, but there are moments of just oh darn, I didn't even think of that, because I'm not immersed enough in the world of ancient Mesopotamia just yet, because in June and July I'm going to be immersed in the Bronze Age of the Aegean, not Mesopotamia specifically. So that's going to be like Quinn Q4. Quinn Q4. Yeah, I think it's Q4. I'm really enjoying this book and I'm glad that I picked it up. I will put Gilgamesh on the list sometime by August because that's when Ninja Bar comes out. So I'm actually really excited to read the entire trilogy. On to the queer fiction of the month. So we got the queer fluff and then we got the sad gay summer because it's all about balance. So for the queer fluff of the month, I'm really surprised. I am reading You Should Be So Lucky. And this follows a down and out rookie baseball player that is just in a huge slump and he's homesick. And he's just like not having a good time as he got, I guess, into the major leagues. I don't know the first thing about sports, y'all. But this is like his big, like, first year in the big times or what have you. And he's just not doing good. Like, he's in a bad slump. And everybody is just tearing him apart. The media, his team, his alcoholic manager, like, nobody likes this guy, supports him. They're all just like almost hazing him. Then we get Mark. Well, the baseball player is Eddie. Then we get Mark. Mark is a mourning, closeted queer man because this is set in 1960s New York and being queer in any shape or form is not okay. And he is mourning the loss of his partner. And so he's been in depression for a year. He doesn't really have a career to speak of. Nothing gets his attention anymore. And he gets assigned to this rookie that is struggling. He has no interest in baseball or sports. And he's like, all right, well, let's make the best of it. And they slowly start to find each other. It sets the expectation that this is a romantic drama. There are some heavy topics that are covered. Mark is very clearly in grieving. He's very clearly mourning. He's dealing with the fact that nobody knew about this relationship, so he cannot mourn openly and he cannot explain it to anybody because it is the 1960s. And it's really sad to see him go through this fight on his own. And then Eddie, along with being a rookie, along with being in this slump and nobody talking to him, having no support, Eddie is also closeted and he is struggling to deal with the fact that he has to be so guarded. And the narrative and the discussion around how being prepared is always having a lie at the wait, always having a facade to distract from the fact that they're queer, and how exhausting it is to always be ready to cover up, to never show your hand, to never let your guard down because the individuals around you would shun you, is really sad and is very, I think, realistic of what it was like to be in a world where even now you can't come out to the wrong people without like a weird look, versus if you're in the right space, nobody really cares. Like, you're queer, so not about who cares, like nobody cares, literally. Like, anyways, are we gonna go have dinner? But that obviously wasn't the case in the 1960s. So seeing that narrative, I don't know why okay, first of all, I came into this book expecting not to like it. I was like, ugh, it's probably not gonna be great. I'm listening to the audiobook and the narrator has this very like posh 60s sort of vibe. So it makes sense, but I'm like, oh, it's getting like annoying. I eventually like got past it and it was fine, but I also thought that we would be set in like an alternate universe 1960s where being queer wasn't a stigma or a disease. So to see this in 1960s where everyone's closeted and everybody's afraid is a very, I'm not gonna say it's refreshing because sad gay summer, right? There's wit for that everywhere, but it was just unexpected, and I really like the way that this narrative is handling it. So it's very fun. I find myself actually laughing like out loud. I love the security that both of these characters give each other, especially when they're both feeling so vulnerable, and Eddie is aware that he's like stepping in it left and right. And he's young, so he's 22, Mark is 28, but they've had such different upbringings and such different backgrounds. It's just charming to see that, you know, the grumpy guy with the sunshiny boyfriend, right? That trope. But it's nice to see that they go out of their way for each other because of the camaraderie and the common ground that they share in both being closeted queer men. And they both kind of get that sense from each other. So I really appreciate that their bond starts because they both are trying to stay in the closet, and then they slowly realize maybe you're also in the closet. So it's been a really fun ride. I can't wait to finish it. Now we get to the sad gay summer reads, y'all. Why is this being weird? I'll be reading these the first week of June. Death in Venice, Giovanni's Room, and Maurice. I am so excited. They're all very short, But that's a lot of heartbreak to cram into a week, so I will see how it goes. This is what I'm tackling ASAP in June. Super, super excited. So that's all that I will be reading in the month of June. It's a total of, hold up, how many books? It's a total of 12 books plus 2 carryover. And one of them is a legitimate encyclopedia that I now realize I have to go get reinforced. So I got to go buy some materials because I don't have anything on me, which is not the plan. I was planning to not leave my house. Obviously that's not happening today. So maybe, I don't know, I'll figure it out. But I have to go reinforce that. But this month we have 12 books, 2 carryovers, and I'm just hoping that I get to just read this month, honestly. Like, I've been running way too many errands after work. God's bless my sister. She is so active. So she's always running errands. And I'm like, I barely leave my house. Hopefully this month I get some downtime. I get to just focus on my reading. My partner is also out of town sometime in this month, I forget. So hopefully I get like a couple of days or a weekend or something to just like chill and read. I think it's gonna be a good month. I am very much looking forward to it. What are you reading this month? It is also Pride Month. What queer lit is on your list? Because I think like 4 or 5 books on my list are queer. Almost I read okay, so sidebar, even the encyclopedias and the history that I read is gonna turn queer at some point. Like, my friend's always asking, I think I was going through like a deep past history, a deep past rabbit hole. And I was like looking at the evolution of life and you know, the last unified common ancestor or something like that, Luca. And I was telling my friends, and she's like, I can't wait to see how evolution of life goes gay, because everything I touch goes gay. Even the Bronze Age is gonna eventually turn into a story that's queer, and I'm really excited. That's it for this video. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!